what is next? What's your next brilliant
Next
thing?
is... See, this is a difficult podcast because you're only talking about joyful things, and so I will get hyper.
That's great. That's the whole point.
The 1995 BBC adaptation of Pride and Prejudice.
Okay, is that the one where your man comes out of the lake?
That's your man, Colin Firth.
What
Yeah.
I've often found about that is because, and this is back in the day where you could be a heartthrob when you were a bit doughy.
Yeah.
Because he's just a fat lad that comes out of a river.
He's not fat.
But he's not like...
No, he's not like ripped. He's not
like
ripped, I
everyone's
agree with
going,
you.
oh my God, pole dart, look at you.
Yeah.
It looks like an estate agent who's got stuck in a bog. But like he's not...
I don't think estate agent is fair on Colin Firth in that situation.
Is it not?
No, like Lord of the Manor. I don't think he's giving estate agent vibes. The suit's not shiny.
No, but he's got that kind of...
I know what you mean. It's
Hello.
definitely... It's not ripped. It's not ripped.
No, it's far from
No.
ripped. But it's an innocent bygone era.
Yeah. It's
where kind of-
attainable. Women
Yeah.
think, oh yeah, he would like me.
Oh,
Whereas
absolutely
Too
he
ripped,
would.
you think, well, no, he's
Yeah.
not going to talk to me.
But it's like Chris Hemsworth coming out of a puddle.
No, that's
would
not...
be chaos.
Yeah, chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you think, oh, shit, is he all right? Like, why did he go in there? Is he trying to kill someone? He's too ripped.
Yeah.
Darcy is obviously gone for a swim.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the Colin Firth, Jennifer Ely, I would argue, the greatest adaptation of a Jane Austen work of all time.
And when you watched, how old were you when you watched this?
So I was about 14.
Right.
So it hit at the right time.
Yeah.
And I had never really, I haven't read any Jane Austen. I sort of knew who she was, but it was my, Sunday tea time family viewing. I was allowed to watch it, and I just fell in love with that world. Like,
Yeah.
not Darcy, just the world.
Yeah.
And it just made me so happy because it's kind of like things went wrong, but also not really. And everyone was kind of like safe soap opera, but also not cheesy and clever. And then, of course, Lizzie Bennet is like extremely witty and clever. And as a 14-year-old girl who no boy is talking to, you're like, yeah, I'm just too witty for them. That's the problem. Not that, you haven't figured out anything about your hair or face, or you're still a goth. And so I just fell in love with it. And I used to pretend it would finish. Everyone does the same thing. I would go upstairs to my room and pretend to be in it.
Oh, really?
For hours. And now I do a show called Ostentatious, which is essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that the thing I did in my bedroom at 14 has become my job.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Very different scenarios. Very different scenarios.
I'd be doing a terrible TV show. Do you know what I mean? All right, hello.
Might be getting paid well.
Yeah.
I might be getting paid very well.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting though? So it just had this transform, and presumably then you started reading all the books and just let.
No, I didn't even. It took me ages to read them.
Really?
No, it took me ages. Like, I just loved that show. I just like every performance in that adaptation. So Alison Steadman is absolutely perfect as Mrs. Bennet. David Bamber as Mr. Collins. Like, Julius Wahala is Lydia. Thank you. It's just everybody is the casting's so bang on the money that. And obviously people disagree. I've met younger generations who feel like the Keira Knightley Pride and Prejudice to them is like the one. Right. And I did enjoy that. I definitely enjoyed that version. But I think every girl or person who likes Jane Austen, when your Darcy appears at that time, like that's for you can't imagine anything else. And the thing about this version, did you know that Colin Firth and Jennifer Ely got together as it was being filmed?
Is that right?
And then they broke up when it came out. So this is pre-social media. So there's no kind of like, oh, are they together? What's happening? Because it just came out. It was on telly once. Everyone loved it. And they were already filming different things in a part. So there was no actor drama to distract from the chemistry on screen.
Yes.
But what you're watching is, Mr. Darcy, you're watching Colin Firth fall in love with Jennifer Ely. So when he's like, I must tell you, I love you. The chemistry is just amazing.
Yeah.
So it was like a very innocent time where you could be completely immersed in something and you had to wait a whole week to see what's going to happen. And I'd never read the book, so I didn't know they were going to get together.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow.
So what was it then? Well, it was just like, why do you think it had such a massive impact?
Just like the clothes, like...
So the first time you dressed up in that manner, that must have been...
like such a weirdo. The first time we started Ostentatious, and we started like in a room above a pub to 12 people. And now we play weekly in the West End, so it's been a long journey. And myself, Rachel Parris and Amy Cook Hodgson, the first girls in the group, and they also were obsessed with that show.
Right.
And we put on the costumes, and we were like, oh my God, it's like we're in it. And it's just that thing of like, and it's just so funny. Everything's so witty and funny and clever, and the characters are so formed. And I think you also get a lot of female characters, which I definitely grew up with an older brother watching a lot of Star Wars and constantly wanting to be in a world, but being like, oh, I don't seem to have a role in this world. Like, oh, I'm Maid Marian and I'm watching you go over here.
Yeah. But what's interesting is you'd sort of say the Princess Leia's, she's quite kick-ass.
I wanted to be Leia a lot,
yeah.
but Leia mainly, she's a bit of kicking and mainly falls in love with Han Solo. Now, look, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I love Han Solo.
Well, that, Han Solo coming out of a river, absolutely.
Oh, my God.
That makes complete sense.
That
Guy's
was
got leather boots
moment.
on, and no one's noticed that. Do you know what I mean?
Leia spends a third of the franchise tied to a slug.
Yeah, that was upsetting when I
Sure,
saw that one.
sure.
Yeah, in a bikini. So Leia, like as a kid, I was absolutely wanting to be Leia.
But I know what you mean. It's sort of, yeah.
Well, you're watching your brother do like Han Solo fight, and you're like,
yeah.
oh, when do you need Leia?
Yeah, sit down by the slug.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, I don't need it. Oh, because
You nearly fucked your brother.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm here. And then so I think definitely having an older brother and then coming across something so full of women who were the leads.
Yeah.
So it's like Lizzie's the lead. Oh, finally, I can do stuff, and I can, if I'm pretending this game in my head, like I get to say stuff rather than let me know when you can release me from the slug.
So when you started reading the books, I'm sort of surprised that you sort of said you read them later.
Late. Yeah, it was so late.
So what was that? That must have then been like this nostalgia fest.
No, well, I did an English degree with Sarah Pascoe, and we went to Sussex Uni where they just expected you to read stuff.
Right.
So there was like, of course you read it, and you'd be like, yeah, definitely haven't seen the BBC version.
Yeah.
And it sort of makes you hate reading because, you just do so much reading when you do an English degree. And so it wasn't until I left university that I thought, oh shit, you know what? I'm a bit embarrassed. I've written essays, I haven't read it. So then I just thought, oh yeah, come on, Pride and Prejudice, let's try that. And I couldn't believe how funny it was.
Given that you do Ostentatious, is there part of you thinks when they do the next version of it?
Don't.
But do you know what I mean? But surely...
They're doing one. It's the Netflix are doing one, Pride and Prejudice.
Really?
I think I have auditioned for some films and adaptations, and I've obviously never got it because I think I go in too keen, like a fan.
Yeah.
Oh my God, hi! Yeah. I've got the costume.
But surely I
know it inside out.
Yeah.
So it is a dream, and whenever they announce a new version, or even Bridgerton is Jane Austen but hot.
Yeah.
So it's like, because some people love those characters, but they don't. Obviously, they eventually peck on the cheek and get married, and we live in a world where you're like, I'd like a bit more, please.
What do you think it is? Why is it about that kind of like the sort of horses and breeches and kind of like big stately homes and kind of romping that is
you're
always...
listing all great things.
No, but I know, sure.
But I'm like, where's the problem? Breeches,
no.
Right?
But my point being, what is it about that it never fails?
Yes, it never fails.
If there was a BBC show called Romp House, then...
Can I be in that,
Yeah,
please?
exactly. But like we got from the makers of the BBC, Horsey Romp House. Like that would be the biggest show.
Horsey Romp House fan lady.
Yeah. But what? But yeah, and that's the trailer.
Why, lady? Why, Lord Romp House? I can't believe how much you are romping today.
Get in the pond, you can. But what?
That's Romp House Enders.
Yeah,
That's very different.
What is
it about
Romp House Enders? Anyways,
Yeah.
But I can see why you're so good. but I'm just like, what is it about that? Is it just the escapism?
No, I think it's a particular time period plus escapism.
Right.
So this to be really nerdy, like the clothes they were the most free women had ever been. So those Empire line dresses, the first time, they were not corseted. They had like stays on, like a mini corset. And if you think like before and after that, like they are... I've done a TV job where I was in the costume before that, and I literally couldn't breathe all day or move or turn my head, and I've never been so fucking grumpy.
Right. Which is funny because it looks like, trying to think, the corset sort of acts like, so the breasts act like a dog's tail. So you see because you see a lot of that.
That is a great sentence.
No, but do you know,
the breasts act like a dog's tail.
Well, because there's a lot of.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
She's angry. She's happy.
Yeah,
but you're kind of like
the breasts are the windows to the soul.
in
in
those
that time.
yeah.
So because they're not wearing a corset, they're wearing stays, which is like hoofing them up, basically. Lady hoof them up. Why, hello. So you're a bit freer.
Right.
Even though obviously you're not free, you can't vote and you're still your father's property until you're married. But like in terms of movement, so you can run across a field and get muddy. You can ride a horse. Like there's stuff and then you move into Victorian times where it becomes so oppressed and women must behave so specifically. So I do feel like it's a very strange time in English history as well, where you have a king on the throne who is not well and a prince regent who's so deeply unpopular. So it's like a time of flux, and I think it's a really interesting time period where it appears that romance can be perhaps in a way that we understand a bit more, whereas Victorian romance seems much more, repressed and you can't say anything and it's still heaving bosoms, but there's a kind of morality to it. Whereas I think Georgian era seems a little bit like you can be a bit more lusty-busty. And I think that gives that kind of Mills and Boon rompingness, which works for television. Because you feel like... Yeah, I just think also the men are written by women. So they are, like Lord Romphurst is wearing his breeches and riding a horse, but emotionally feeling quite vulnerable.
Right, yes.
And that's what you don't get in some of the, books written by men, where you're not getting male characters explored from a female point of view.
Yeah.
So to women, it's like, oh God, like he's repressed and he's prejudiced, but inside he's vulnerable. Like that is catnip to us.
Yeah,
right.
My favourite legacy of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice is mice urine.
What?
There's a particular pheromone that they've discovered recently in mice urine that attracts female mice to male mice. And it's been called Darcy after Mr. Darcy.
Wow.
Perfect.
It's a lovely legacy.
It is a lovely legacy. So
£10 note, mice urine. She's having a great time. Netflix adaptation.
So presumably, given where mice dwell, there must have been a moment where there is a small male mouse in a puddle of his own. a puddle of his own urine.
Putting on his tiny breeches as it comes out.
And all the other lady mice.
Lady mice bust.
Oh.
Look at my 6 nipples.
Yeah.
I say, you look very attractive today, Lord Darcy. Is that your own urine you're wearing? Yes, Lizzie, it is. I wouldn't bathe in anything else.